sometimes a mistake can come out beautiful. So let's turn a mistake into something intentional.
So many reasons why I want for you, my love. Now you I want to retire with my love. See what you did,
So originally, I was working on this granny square skirt, and I wanted to make it a little longer because it was too short, and I ended up throwing it in my whip pile. Long story short, I ended up bringing it out of the whip pile, forgetting that I was supposed to add extra squares. And I took this skirt with me on my trip with some yellow yarn so I could finish it on the road. Once I went to go try on the skirt again, I realized, oh snap, I don't have the other color of yarn that I need. So I came up with this idea to add ruffles to the bottom of the skirt to compensate for the length that was missing. This skirt has blown up on TikTok, and I honestly was not prepared for it. It's not my favorite skirt, but it seems like everyone else loves it. So I just wanted to share a quick little tutorial on how I add the ruffles. Now, one, I don't have the skirt on me. It's somewhere in Atlanta and I'm home in New York. So I will insert a picture of the skirt. For the yellow skirt in question, I used 16 granny squares, 8 in the front, 8 in the back, and I used 4 rounds on each square. So the middle of the square is a polo stripe from Red Heart yarn. And then I used yellow for the 4th round. So 3 rounds of polo stripe, 1 round of yellow. And then the overall aura of the skirt is yellow. If you know me and you followed my work, you know I work a lot with color theory. So hence why the colors I chose for that skirt came out the way it did. For purposes of this tutorial, I will not be going over in depth of how I make the whole skirt as far as squares. If you want a little more in-depth look on that, you can check out my all-in-one granny square miniskirt tutorial. I'll link that in the description for you guys. And that's just going to be the basis of how I assemble the skirt. But this is more so the focus on the ruffles and how I do the granny stitch ruffles at the bottom. I'll go over a little bit about the waistband, but that is something that I've already elaborated on how I do in the all-in-one granny square mini skirt tutorial. Let's get into this ruffle skirt. So I already have my squares made up. This is 7 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 rounds on this granny square, and I made 4 of these. And these next to each other is gonna equal the width of my hip. So I'm just gonna go ahead and attach these, and we'll get started on the ruffle. I've attached all my squares. Now I'm going to add the ruffles here at the bottom. These ruffles are 6 rows long. I'm going to use my 5mm hook, pair of scissors, and I got this more than 1 pound big twist yarn. in teal. Wait for super soft. The idea for this skirt essentially is going to be whatever color in the middle, and whatever outline color you use is going to be the same color that you use for the ruffles and the waistband. But essentially you could do this in whatever color. This is just how I work the color scheme. Now to get into the ruffles. So I'm going to make a slip knot, and I'm going to find a corner piece. I'm using this as the bottom, and where the strings are up is going to be where my waistband is. So I'm just gonna pick a corner, attach my yarn. I like to tuck my yarn, so we're gonna do that, and we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, and then I'm gonna add 2 more double crochets in this stitch to make my first granny cluster. And I'm gonna chain 1 and add 1 granny cluster in the next stitch. Well, the next opening. So I'm just gonna go with 1 cluster in each opening going around, and that is gonna be round 1 of the ruffles. So now we're gonna slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 that we made in the beginning of this row, and that completes round 1 of the ruffles. Now we start our increases in round 2. So I'm gonna, after I slip stitch into the top of the chain 3 that we made in the beginning of this round, we're going to chain 4, and that's going to represent a double crochet and a chain 1 space. We're going to work into this next space, and we're going to add 2 clusters. So we're going to do the first cluster, which is 3 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to chain 1 and then add another cluster. So 1, 2, 3 double crochets. Gonna chain 1, move to the next space and add 2 clusters. So here's 1, 2, 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 1, 2, 3 double crochets. So that's our second cluster with our chain 1 space. Then we're going to chain 1, and in every space going around for round 2, we're going to add 2 clusters. So we're going to chain 1, add a cluster, chain 1, add a second cluster in the same space, and then chain 1. and I'll meet you back at the end of this round. In this last space where you have the chain 3 to start the round, you're gonna add 1 cluster, chain 1, and then you're gonna add 2 double crochets instead of 3, because this chain 3 will equal the 3rd double crochet. So we're just gonna pop 1, 2 double crochets in there, and in the 3rd chain you're gonna slip stitch in there. And that completes round 2. And as you can see, we're starting to get a little ruffle. So now we're gonna get started on round 3 of our ruffle. So here we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're gonna add 2 treble crochets. So yarn over twice, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, hit another treble. Now with this chain 4 and 2 trebles, that's gonna create our first cluster. And we're gonna chain 1, and then we're going to do another cluster with 3 trebles. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then chain 1. So we have our 2 clusters, chain with a chain 1 in the middle in this space. And we're gonna repeat this patterning all the way around. So in your next chain 1 space, which should be in between your clusters, in between your 2 clusters, you're gonna pop in 2 treble crochet clusters divided by a chain 1. So 2, here is our first treble crochet cluster, chain 1, and we're gonna add another treble crochet cluster, 2, 3, and chain 1. So now we're gonna go into the next space, 1 treble crochet cluster, chain 1, second treble cluster, chain 1. And we're just going to repeat that patterning all the way around, and again in every chain 1 space. So here and in between our clusters, we'll be getting 2 treble crochet clusters parted by a chain 1 space and chain 1 at the end. So we start with a chain 1, treble cluster, chain 1, treble cluster, chain 1. Okay, and we're just gonna repeat that all the way around for round 3, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round. So we're in our last chain 1 space. I'm gonna add my last 2 clusters. Here's the first cluster. Chain 1, second cluster, chain 1, and then at the top of that chain 4 on the 4th chain, we're just gonna go ahead and slip stitch into that chain, and that completes our 3rd row of the ruffles. Now to move on to our 4th row of ruffles, gonna chain 4, and into that next chain space, we're going to put 1 granny square cluster using double crochet. So we have 3 double crochets in our first chain 1 space. Now we're gonna chain 1, and in our next chain 1 space, we're gonna add 2 double crochet clusters. So here's 1, 2, 3 double crochets, chain 1, and in that same space, we're gonna add another cluster. So 1, 2, 3 double crochets, chain 1. So in our next chain 1 space, we're gonna add 1 cluster. So that's 1, 2, 3 double crochets, chain 1, and in the next chain 1 space, 2 clusters with double crochet. So 1, 2, 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 1, 2, 3. Second cluster, chain 1. So that patterning we're going to continue for round 4, and I will meet you back at the end of round 4. So now we're in the last chain 1 space, which we started with our chain 4. So in this space, we're gonna add 1 cluster, our 3 double crochets, chain 1, and then add 2 double crochets, and that will complete our final cluster, including that chain 4. And we're going to slip stitch into the top of the 3rd chain of the chain 4. And that completes round 4. So now we're on the 5th round of 6 for our ruffles. And here we're just gonna start off by chaining 3. And here in that same chain 1 space, we're gonna add 2 double crochets. Chain 1, and in the next chain 1 space we're just going to add 1 cluster, so 3 double crochets. That's 1, 2, 3. Chain 1, and in the next chain 1 space we're going to add 1 cluster. So essentially for round 5, we're just adding 1 granny square cluster in each chain 1 space, and we're just chaining 1 in between. So chain 1, cluster. Chain 1, cluster. And you're going to repeat this all the way until you get to the end of round 5. So this is our last cluster. After this, we're just gonna chain 1 and slip stitch in the top of the chain 3 we made at the beginning of the round. And that completes the 5th round of our ruffle. For our last and final round, round 6 of these ruffles, we are going to chain 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're just going to treble into this next open space. 1, and we're gonna put 2 more trebles. 1, 2, which is gonna make 3 trebles for our cluster. And here we're not gonna do any chain 1 spaces, just straight clusters. So in our next chain 1 space, we're just gonna add 1 treble crochet cluster. In the next space, 1 treble crochet cluster. And we're gonna repeat this all the way around until we get to our last cluster space. So we're just gonna repeat 3 treble crochets in each chain 1 space, and I'll meet you back at the end so we can finish off our ruffles. So now we've reached our last chain 1 space where we started our chain 4. So we're just going to add 2 trebles into this space to complete the cluster. Here's 2, and then we just slip stitch at the top of our chain 4. And then we fasten off this row. And just weave in those ends. And that completes our 6th row of ruffles. So now that we've completed our ruffles, now we can work on the waistband. I'm gonna do the waistband similar to how I did the all-in-one granny square mini skirt. So I'll just show you how I do my decrease here at the top so it can fit my waist properly, and then we'll refer back to finishing the waistband. Slip knot. We're gonna start at a corner space. And we're gonna chain 3. And then we're gonna add 2 double crochets to make our granny cluster. And then in the next chain 1 space, we're just gonna add another granny cluster with 3 double crochets. And in the 3rd chain 1 space, we're gonna add 2 double crochets. And that will be our decrease. So we have 3, 3, 2. So next space will be 3 double crochets. Next space, 3 double crochets. Next space, 2 double crochets. Next space, 3 double crochets. Next space, 3 double crochets. Next space, 2 double crochets. So I'm going to complete this patterning all the way around till I get back to the end, and I'll meet you at the end so we can finish off our waistband. So here's my last cluster with 2 double crochets, and I'm just going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3 made in this round. And that completes my decreases. So now I'm just going to chain 3, and I'm gonna add 1 double crochet in each stitch going around. So after I finish that row of double crochets, I just added a waistband with some double crochets and front post crochets and elastic at the top with half double crochet trim and a drawstring. And this is the part where I told you guys you can refer to the all-in-one miniskirt tutorial, because I explain how I do the waistband as well as the skirt part. So yeah, this tutorial was really just for the ruffles that you guys have been asking for. That's what we got. And yeah, hope this was quick and easy and understandable for you guys. Again, I'll put the reference video in the description along with the stitches I've used, the materials, all of that fun good stuff will be in the description. See you guys next time.